Ladies and gents, we are reviewing Hard Light and update 2.8.1.1. Now this bad baby was the highest killing weapon in all of Crucible for like, I don't know, past month and a half, going on 2 months almost. It's good. But as of today, it appears that may no longer be the case. Now these are essentially the patch notes right here. Hard Light's damage fall off now floors at 0.7 times. This is slightly better than the 0.5 times standard on other autos. Also, the ricochet damage overall has been reduced inside of PvP, no longer doing double the damage, but instead only 1.35 times. They also removed a recoil adjustment that made the weapon more stable than intended. Honestly, I have no idea what the hell Bungie's talking about on that last one. The recoil adjustment that they're talking about feels no different than what it felt like yesterday or in the previous sandbox. I just played with Hard Light pre 2.8.1.1 and then played with it immediately after this patch went live. So whatever recoil adjustment they did to this weapon to make it less stable is next to nothing. The weapon feels almost identical to me. Now we're going to be reviewing this weapon from the perspectives of both controller users as well as mouse and keyboard users. But first up, let's just go over Volatile Light because this perk has actually changed entirely. Rounds fired from this weapon have reduced damage fall off, over-penetrates targets, and ricochets off of hard surfaces. Projectile damage increase after bounce. Now the main thing is, in the lore of Hard Light, considering it literally shoots light, and light, at least to my scientific knowledge, doesn't have fall off. You know what I mean? That's like the thing about it. It's science, baby. But with this change, it not only goes against Hard Light and this exotic perk, thus pushing them to rewrite this perk, but it also goes against the lore, right? What is Hard Light actually shooting? Is it actually light? Maybe, just maybe, the lore wizards out there can actually spin it. The closer the pyramids get to us, the weaker Hard Light gets, right? Now, considering that this weapon now has damage fall off and a whopping 46 range, this led us to go inside of here, test it on Greg 2.0, and get an idea of when damage fall off begins. We said yesterday, best case scenario was 27 meters. We were correct. That would have been best case scenario. It actually begins at about 24 meters. 24! Which is quite steep. I mean, we're talking most 720 round per minute auto rifles having more range than poor old Hard Light right here. Now, considering that the weapon doesn't have as steep of damage fall off, this allows it to retain some of its damage, not dropping to half its full damage, but instead 0.7 of its full damage. Not only that, despite the weapon having damage fall off, the behavior and characteristics of the weapon are very much still the same. At a range, the weapon still feels sticky, it was still able to land shots, and if you know some other auto rifles out there, they have some difficulty at great ranges, right? Shots start to become non-existent, they just dissipate into nothing. Hard Light still seems to retain the characteristics that it previously had, where it was still able to land hits. Instead, now you just won't be doing full max damage. Now, as we stated yesterday, the time to kill value of this weapon is a beautiful 0.7 seconds, but it's a 0.7 second time to kill value, everything from 24 to 24.5 meters and less. Anything past that point, you'll start to see that time to kill value incrementally going up, actually maxing out at its optimal time to kill with that 0.7 threshold of 1 second. Now, as far as its ricochet damage, inside of Crucible, I was noticing numbers around 20 damage per ricochet round landed, which is much less than what it was before. Again, Bungie is not only dialing back the range on this weapon, but also the ricochet damage itself. For those moments that people are diving into cover, they won't get hit with double damage. It's still nice, but for some of us out there that have been training in the ways of ricochet, I'm sorry to say, it's just not worth it. You know, I've seen some other shenanigans too, like people shooting the ground in front of the enemy. I would say it was worth doing those crazy shenanigans in the previous sandbox, although it would have just been better to just shoot your enemy. But if you wanted to be crazy, you could. Now, not so much. Ricochet rounds and the extra damage that you get from it inside of PvP, it's just like a cherry on top, and a just in case that guy's one shot and he dives in the cover, you might just kill him. So far in this sandbox, Hard Light in 2.8.1.1 is this weapon no longer the go-to choice in the energy slot. Well, I gotta say, Hard Light felt good. I mean, it still feels like a great auto rifle. It's consistent, it's sticky for both my controller input and mouse and keyboard input. I found the weapon to still be very, very good. The problem is, Hard Light is just not gonna be what it was before. Like, originally, you can use a Hard Light on a mid-range map, even a long-range map, rock a shotgun with it, and pretty much have all your areas under control. You won't be able to do that anymore, which is probably a good thing, but I really think you're gonna see a huge uptick in usage of weapons like Summoner, Gilliard, Gnawing Hunger, pretty much any well-rolled energy auto rifle that can really max out that range stat, and especially things that can throw on that extra zoom, whether it's scopes or even rangefinder. You're gonna start to see people using that more than hard light. Now, granted, there's a lot of people that don't have that auto rifle. So I think people, especially inside of trials, are gonna continue to use hard light, most notably because they can rock it with Revoker. And despite what Bungie said about adjusting the recoil of the weapon, if you've got the stability catalyst for this gun, you're good, man. Hard light has some slight shake to it, but nowhere near how it was both in D1 and in D2 when it first launched. On top of that, having a 100 aim assist value, a beautiful 79 handling stat, there's a lot of good things hard light boasts when it comes to consistency. Perfect recoil direction at 100. I think anything even past 24 meters, like 25, 26, 27, hard light could still dominate. You gotta finesse them a little bit. You gotta crouch, throw some shots off, strafe a little bit. This is an update that I feel like people that know how to aim are gonna be completely fine if they wanna keep using hard light. It's the people that would just sit in the back and just lane. This is not gonna be the weapon for you. You can't do that. You won't be rewarded when people dive behind cover. You won't get that double ricochet damage, that zero fall off damage. This is a weapon that Bungie has definitely put parameters around to be only good within its intended ranges, which is pretty much anything south, I would say 26 meters. Even though you're gonna receive damage fall off past 24, the weapon can still hold its own even past that. And again, you can still get kills even beyond that point. The weapon still stays sticky. You're just gonna run into situations where the time to kill begins to extend itself, right? Now, we did talk to Dingo. This is a friend of mine on console. I wanted to make sure what I was experiencing with hard light, not feeling any different recoil-wise, wasn't just me and wasn't just a PC thing. He actually says he doesn't even have the catalyst for hard light. And he said hard light felt no different than what it did before. It also remained just as sticky as he remembered it. Again, the only difference is the damage fall off. So guys, that is your hard light in this new sandbox. With these changes, it performs well still. I think it's still a great auto rifle if you don't have a legendary counterpart to outperform it. And even then, to a certain extent, considering the stats that are on hard light, just its base default stats, that whopping amount of stability, handling, aim assist, recoil direction, magazine size being 49, I think hard light is still an excellent option. It's just not borderline broken like it was before. Now, before you just jump on me and say, hey man, hard light was never broken, you son of a bitch, you got it nerfed. Easy, fellas, all right? I did not come after hard light, but this is what happens, man. When you got trials and you got a weapon that remains at the top of the list week after week with no clear winner to outcompete it, this is just a result of that. So let me know in the comments below what you think, fellas. Do you like hard light? Do you feel like the weapon is still pretty decent in this sandbox? Was the change enough? Was it not enough? Or was it just right? Fellas and ladies, oh, and by the way, thank you so much for 400K. And as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.